Have a good final, man.
How you doing, big man? Doing good? Good.
It's not too many men. It's a great whistle. I like that reset all day.
Oh, go ahead. We're all good.
I just don't like it. It's the skate that trips him. I don't like it.
6-11, so we got a good goal. All right, thank you. 44, cross check.
Eyes everywhere. Okay, let's go. Come on.
What up, High and Wide fam, and welcome in 102.9 The Game. Appreciate you tuning in again for another episode of Behind the Stripes with Dave Jackson. We got a good one today to break down, guys. A lot of information here. We're excited about it, but let's welcome in the legend himself, Dave Jackson. Dave, how you doing, man?
How's it going, everyone? Thank you. Legend in my own mind, maybe, but you're the legend. You're the cheesesteak legend, and your reputation's only growing from what I can see all over Twitter.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, we were able to debut an episode on America's Best Restaurants. They came out and filmed an episode. It dropped on Friday. So it's been pretty good between Facebook and Twitter. We're up over 5,000 views right now. So it's really cool. Getting a lot of positive feedback, some new followers. Had some new customers in the shop this weekend and today. So that was a lot of fun, man.
I hear you had some technical issues with your restaurant.
Yeah, it was a good, strong way to close the month after a brutal start to the month with some blizzards, some pipe bursting. It was a rough, I walked into a flood one morning last week. So it was a rough start to the month. I want you to know that I actually I sit down and try to think about a different intro for you every time when I do the announcement. I have some good ones that I'm saving up for. I want to make sure, if we do another spot somewhere or a simulcast one, I want to make sure I do it for the largest audience possible.
Right on. I look forward to seeing it or hearing it.
All right, well, let's jump right into it. So this was the call on Saturday night. Tyler Myers is the one involved. We got a couple clips to show, and then I'm going to let Dave break it down and chime in where I can. But I'm going to run the live one, run the replay, and then the post meeting afterwards.
We got a lot to unpack here, Dave.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Canucks Twitter's on fire, so.
we know how Vancouver fans are, too. Here we go.
His way to the right wing for Danforth. Right back into the corner, Corrali. Spins off a check, goes down, and he's in some difficulty.
Crowley's going to try to touch it. Myers is in there at the hit. There's an elbow. And then Cole comes in and hits Danforth, and Corrali was already down.
All right, so I ran through the three videos there. The live one doesn't show the initial hit, but what I liked about it was that you could see the referee's arm go in the air and he starts skating in, and you see that happen after the Cole hit, which I think is important to note. In the replay that I show, they slow it down. You can see what actually happened step by step from a different angle. You see the puck going in, you see Corrali going in, Myers hit, the elbow to the face, then you see the Cole hit. So I thought that was important to have both those angles and showing what the referee was reacting to. And then important to note, the reason we showed the video of the conference is because you see the referees talking, and then the linesman comes in to come discuss with them and give his own opinion. Now, we only showed 12 seconds, but that clip was actually about 30 seconds long before they went back to center ice. So, Dave, go ahead, dive into it for us.
Well, I got a question for you, too. Technical question, Dave. Can we show that clip again later on in this sequence?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Good, because that clip's important. So what happens here is we have Tyler Myers goes in, tries to make a body check, makes a reckless play. I don't believe it was malicious. I don't believe he tried to elbow the guy in the face, but it was just reckless. He wasn't in control of his limbs as he did it. You got to understand, the referee's on the far side. So what he's looking along the boards behind the net, and it's Myers' left elbow that makes contact. He doesn't see it, and I understand why he doesn't see it. I'm assuming, I haven't spoken to him, I'm assuming he doesn't see that because his arm doesn't go up right away. Second player, so that player drops to the ice who gets hit. Another player comes in about, a second, 2 seconds later, Cole comes in, push from behind, bumps him from behind. He sort of falls over. His player is already down the ice. And you see the referee react right away because he realizes there's an injured player on the ice and he sees a shove from behind. So he's putting 2 and 2 together and he thinks, oh, that just caused injury. So we got to call a penalty here. So there's a bit of pushing and shoving that goes on afterwards. And I believe he signaled a penalty on Cole, probably a minor penalty. And then the referees, the other referee and the linesmen all come in, and they have a huddle right there at the scrum, at the scene of the car crash. They have a small little huddle. And if you'll notice, and that's why it's important to me, and we'll go back to that video in a minute, they don't put Cole in the box. He decides, because he saw the referee signal at him, he went over there and went in the box by himself. The door was open. He went and sat down. But the linesman didn't escort him to the box, which that's important because when he definitely has a penalty, a linesman always escort a player to the penalty box. One linesman goes and sort of makes sure there's no more anger. The players are not upset at anyone. 2 referees go to center ice. Before they go to review, they get into the referee's crease where it's kind of at their office, and they're going to discuss what happened in this play. Because picture a car crash where there's multiple cars involved, and someone gets hurt, and the police show up. They don't just make a snap decision and go, oh, it was this guy. No. They pull all the pieces together, talk to witnesses, they see what happens, and they get the guilty party. And I think that's what happened in this situation. Was the procedure a standard procedure? Was it something you see all the time? No, it was an outlier here, but I believe the system worked like it should have worked. Now, in that clip we're going to show again, linesman Mark Shuchuk, number 92, he was outside the zone. He had a clear view of everything. He makes a beeline to the referees, and you can see him talking. You see he points over to the referee's crease. He goes over to the referee's crease. He's the only one doing the talking. It's a little unclear on this video. It's from far away. I saw a different clip of it. He's the one talking for 20, 25 seconds. The referees are listening. Then Markovic, the referee who was down low, goes out to center ice to make his announcement that they're going to review the play. Shuchuk then goes out and he has his ear for another 5 seconds at center ice before he announces anything. Then he makes his announcement. He says, this play is under review for a potential major penalty. He didn't say Ian Cole. He didn't say interference, I believe was the first call that was made. He just said this play is under review, meaning it all happened at the same time. We go back to the car crash philosophy. Multiple cars involved. It was all one time. I didn't get a great look at it as a referee, but guess what? The linesman from outside the thing, he had a great look at it because he came in and told us for 30 seconds exactly what happened.
And linesmen can call major penalties. They can call a major penalty.
Linesmen can report major penalties.
Report major penalties.
Report major penalties. They can't make the call. It's ultimately still the referee's decision to make the call. Obviously, the referee couldn't see the elbow, but I believe the linesman had a really good look at it. He came in and said, listen, guys, this is what I think we got here. The injury was not from Cole hitting the guy. The injury was from the elbow. And I believe the elbow to be a major penalty, not because it was malicious, but because it was reckless and it caused an injury. Really, that's sort of black and white. If an injury is caused by an elbow, it's a 5-in game, whether there was intent or not. If they deem it was intent, you might see them call a match penalty for an attempt to injure. They didn't feel it was a match penalty. They didn't feel it was intentional, but they did agree that there was an elbow to the face. It drew blood. The guy was split open. He was cut. It's 5-in game. So they make that announcement. They go to video review. So if we can run that clip one more time, and I want people to watch. Cole gets in the box by himself. He's not escorted. And the linesman Mark Shuchuk corrals the referees and gets them to the penalty box. And it doesn't go long enough. But actually, if it went longer, you'd see him out center ice before the announcement for 10 more seconds talking to the referees. Let's show the fans this again.
Yeah, so like you said, we see Cole go in the box on his own. Has a penalty been called on anyone yet? Nothing's been announced yet, right?
No. I don't have video. I do believe the referee signaled, from what I'm told, he signaled interference on Cole.
Okay.
The puck wasn't there. I believe that was the signal. So they go to review, And I'm assuming the conversation goes something like this. Hey, I didn't see an elbow. I saw a shove from behind. I have an injured player. I thought the shove from behind caused the injury, but the linesman came to me and said, no, he had a good look at it. I think he Myers elbowed the player in the face, and that's what we're going to review. We're going to review and see if A, I missed a major penalty, and B, they can also review and see, did Cole cause an injury with his hit? You can review 2, you can review 3 major penalties. You're reviewing the play. They reviewed a play, and it's clear as a bell. It's Myers that causes the injury. So right there, they go, okay, great. Linesman got the call right. He's allowed to report a major penalty. That's what we're calling. As far as Cole goes, I'm not even sure that's a penalty without the major from Myers. It was a push from behind. The guy didn't hit the boards very hard. He went down, and they're probably saying, listen, if we get the original one, the whistle's going, that doesn't even happen. So we're not going to compound it. We're not going to bury the team on something it's a marginal infraction anyways. I'm not even sure you would call that boarding if that was just a standalone play.
So if it wasn't marginal, if it was egregious, if it was definitely for sure boarding, right?
Yeah, you have two guys lying on the ice injured.
Yeah. Or let's just say the boarding doesn't cause an injury. But it's definitely a 2-minute. You look at it, that's definitely a 2-minute.
Oh yeah, he spotters him.
Yeah, but it doesn't cause an injury, right?
Right.
Would they still go with that same philosophy of, hey, listen, that play actually didn't happen because if we got it right, we called this.
No, you would have to call that. You'd have to call it. Much like, let me give you an example. If a guy goes across the blue line and he's offside, but the linesman doesn't blow the whistle right away for whatever reason, he's screened, he's blocked, whatever, doesn't blow the whistle, so the defending team trips him. And just as he trips him, the linesman realizes, he puts 2 and 2 together, and he blows the whistle and says, yeah, I was offside. I was just late blowing the whistle, which you see that happen sometimes. Or he'll miss it, but his partner will be covering for him, and you always give the guy who has the line, you always give him first crack at it. But when his partner realizes that was offside, my partner didn't see it, now I'm going to blow the whistle. And it sometimes happens 2 seconds after the fact. So meanwhile, this guy gets tripped, just a trip, a regular stick on the skate play. He's tripped. Referee throws his arm up as the whistle's now going for offside. What's the right thing to do there? You just wash out the tripping penalty because it shouldn't have happened. Okay. It shouldn't have happened. The play should have been called offside, and it's no harm, no foul. So if I'm the referee, I'm not calling the tripping penalty, even though I put my arm in the air. However, if that's a slash to the hands, or a punch in the head, or an elbow, I don't care if there should have been a whistle. You took advantage of a player, and I'm going to call the penalty. Whether there should have been a whistle or not, I can't agree with a violent act. So going back to what you're saying, if that had been a blatant boarding, planted him into the boards, he slumps to the ice, kind of stunned, yes, they're calling both.
Okay.
But looking at this, they're going, that's a shove from behind. Yeah, he hits the boards. Doesn't hit it very hard. He's out quite a ways, but we got to get the major penalty. And they took Cole out of the box. They put Myers, they didn't put him in the box. They sent Myers to the dressing room, and Vancouver had to kill a 5-minute power play. And yesterday I was on Twitter all morning, and people were going, linesman can't call. The linesman can definitely call that. It's under linesman's responsibilities. It says the linesman must report any major or match penalty that he sees to the referee. And then it's up to the referee after review to either apply it, reduce it to 2 minutes, or call nothing at all. In this case, they looked at it, and I'm sure the referee wanted to give Mark Shuchuk a big hug. He's like, hey, you saved my butt there. Like, we got the call right. And really, I don't understand. I argue with people all the time about when referees miss calls, and their response always to me is, why can't they review it? We've got the technology. Why can't they review? Why can't we get it right? And then now the referees actually get it right. They don't break any rules doing it because the linesman is allowed to do what he did, give them the advice, they review it, they get the call right. That was absolutely the right call. And people are up in arms saying, oh, they broke protocol doing it and all that. Well, they didn't break protocol. And if you want to take it a step further, these people, the same people, accept when if you high stick your teammate in the face but I think it's the other team, and I call a double minor for high sticking. Now, the referee, me, I thought I saw that, but I obviously saw it wrong because I reviewed it. It turns out it was you high sticked your own teammate. I'm getting rid of the penalty. So I thought I saw something, but video fixed it. And no different on this play here. The referee thought they pushed from behind, caused the injury. Turns out, linesman saw it as it should have been. Linesman told them, they reviewed it, got the call right. Vancouver killed the penalty, won in overtime. Textbook fairy tale ending, man.
Yeah, I mean, for officials and linesmen, you're always going to have one fan base pissed off at you probably after every game.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And it's all result oriented.
Yeah,
like if that was the other way around, Vancouver fan base would probably be, well, you got the call right, and the Columbus fan base would be like, well, how can you do that? I mean, it's so result. Nobody complained about that call other than the Vancouver fan base. And I'm not picking on the Vancouver fan base. I'm just illustrating that it applied to their team, so they're going to complain about it the same way every day I deal with another team, the Chicago fan base, the Edmonton fan base, the Arizona fan base, LA fan base. When it happens to their team, they think the referees are sticking it to them, and they're not. They're trying to get the call right. That's all they want to do.
I will say, as you're going through this, we probably should have reached out to Jay and see if he wanted to come on. He probably would have been a good guest for this particular call and talk through what the linesman was doing.
Yeah, we should start getting some guests on here.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Jay, or if you can reach out to him, see if he wants to come on every now and then. But I mean, obviously, we try to do recent calls, so it's usually like 1 or 2 day notice is probably what people would get.
Yeah.
So I understand people not being able to just jump on on a 24-hour notice thing. But I didn't even think about it when we were talking about this yesterday and setting this up. Jay would have been a good idea for this one.
Yeah, we just have to make sure we can get him off the golf course.
Well, speaking of golf courses, the league heading into the All-Star break, plenty of players are probably going to be taking some downtime, resting up. But let's talk about, Dave, yourself, you're an NHL official All-Star, having participated in 2 All-Star games, 02 and 18. So I don't know if too many people know about what the process is for how referees and linesmen, the officials, get picked for an All-Star game. Is it an award? I'm assuming it's not a punishment. I'm assuming that it's a good thing you want to work the All-Star game, right?
Well, it depends what the climate is. I mean, no, it's absolutely a reward. It's a reward for work well done. It's it's a caveat. It's something that people I wouldn't say, obviously you want to work Stanley Cup final. That's the holy grail of being an official. But to work an All-Star game, unless the rules have changed, you have to be in the league at least 10 years as a full-time official. Once you're in there for 10 years, it's kind of a get in line, wait your turn, and the referee in chief, the director of officiating, will then, when your number comes up, it's kind of your turn. If you're having a good season, if you're working well, if you're on standard, if you're following league directives, then you're getting that game. If you say, hey, it's my turn, but you're really not following the league standards, your penalty standard's not there, well, you're probably not going to get the game. So it's a little bit of both. My first game was in Los Angeles in 2002, right after 9/11 happened, and we had the crest on our sleeve with the red, white, and blue ribbon. For 9/11, it was a somber event because it was still fresh in everyone's mind, and they recognized it. And that was the first year they had the Young Guns game. I believe they played 4-on-4, and they were all first-year players. They were all rookies, and they played before the main All-Star game. And then the All-Star game format that year, I believe, was North America against Europe, or North America against Europe and Russia. And I'd been standby. We used to have standbys at All-Star games because it used to be 1 referee, 2 linesmen. And if someone got hurt, you needed a backup. So I got to be standby. So I actually was at 3 All-Star games. I got to be standby in Tampa in 1999. And the standby referee got to do the skills competition. So he would go out in the ice, do the skills competition with the referee in chief, who was Brian Lewis at the time. and the 3 officials working the game would have the night off. They just sit in the stands and watch. And I was in Tampa, and back in the 90s, I had a real love-hate relationship with Tampa. I loved the city, and they hated me. Um, and they announced the referees at a skill competition. I got booed. The entire building booed the referee at the skills competition, which was me. So then flash forward 3 years later, 2 years later, I guess 3 years later, 2001, 2002, I got to do the game in LA, and it was now we'd switched over to the 4-man system. So there's 2 referees, 2 linesmen. There was no standby. And the very first shift of the game, I'm out there wondering what to expect, because normally you see these games as they're no hitters.
Exhibition.
They're
Yeah.
exhibition games for the most part. It's for the fans, it's for the families, it's for the sponsors. It's showcase the talent of the game, showcase the skill of the game. We're not 10 seconds in, and Jeremy Roenick lines a guy up and just flattens him against the boards. I mean, a playoff caliber body check.
That's so on brand for Roenick, though.
And it was a legal check, and there was no penalty involved here other than the shock and awe and surprise of everybody involved, including myself. And all of a sudden I went from going, I'm gonna have to referee here tonight. I mean, this is not just being out on the ice skating around with a bunch of superstars. And I think he went to the bench, and he heard it from his own teammates. I think they were kind of giving him like, "What are you doing?
Settle down."
And everything settled down, and we had 1 penalty, I think, a tripping penalty the rest of the game. But it was pretty cool because my 2 boys were young. They were probably like 8 and 6 at the time, and they had full access. They had pass around their neck, and they were in both teams' locker rooms. I went in on the data skills competition. They're sitting there, and they got Patrick Roy's gear on. My other son had Rob Blake's hockey gloves on. He's talking to Mario Lemieux.
Wow.
Jagers in the European room. I mean, they just taking pictures with these guys. They didn't have cell phones then, or they didn't have cell phones. We had I had a flip phone.
The old school flip, or the Nokias.
Yeah, but my boys had, the cardboard disposable cameras, the Kodak. So they were taking all kinds of pictures. They still have. And, I had a picture of Rob Blake holding my youngest son, who's now a linesman in the NHL, holding him in his arms. Chris Pronger, all those guys. It was really cool. And then flash forward to my final season. I don't know how I got lucky enough to be selected a second time. Maybe it was a reward for a good career. But I got to work in Tampa, and my wife.
Wait, it went full circle, and you went back around to Tampa again?
Back around Tampa, where
So you're booed in Tampa as the skills competition, the standby ref,
Yes.
and then your last season, get the All-Star game again in Tampa.
And no one booed me. No one booed me.
That's great.
Yeah. I even had a nice conversation with Phil Esposito, who was the GM back in 1999, who we used to have differences of opinion. He's such a great guy, just a little emotional. And, but no, they were great and get along great today. But yeah, and my boys got to come, and this time my boys were, they were 25 and 23. I mean, I don't know if the math, I know math was going to be required, but they were adults. They were able to, come out to the parties, have a couple of beers, and be part of it. And my daughter, who wasn't born in 2002, she was in 18. She was in her mid-teens, and she was able to come and enjoy it as well. And she had an all-star jersey, and she'd same kind of access. She'd stand and get all the players sign her jerseys and everything. I worked with Wes McCauley, and that's interesting too, because Wes's dad, John, was the director of officiating who hired me back in 1986, brought me on staff before I signed a contract. Brian Lewis ended up hiring me in 89, but I was a trainee in 86. John McCauley, Wes's dad, hired me. And when my son Ryan, who's the linesman now, when he was playing junior hockey, he played in Maine for a year, and he lived in Wes's basement. So to have all these people coming together, and Wes's daughter and my daughter hung out, it was just a great time.
That's
it was
awesome,
a lot of
man.
fun.
That's so cool.
And that's what the All-Star game is for the officials. It's all about allowing your family to take part in the festivities, to just get a little glimpse into what your life's all about and the people you hang with. And so for me, there's very fond memories of the All-Star game. I love it. I hope the All-Star game continues to be an attraction for years to come, because it's fantastic.
That's so great, man. We should, I'm sure Ryan's busy, man. We should try to get Ryan on here at some time too, if he wants to.
I don't think he wants to.
He doesn't
want to. On ice officials have to have any interviews cleared.
Oh, okay.
By PR, and being.
So he's probably just like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to deal with that.
Still on a minor league deal, working up and down. He'd be just like, Dad, I'll watch your podcast, but I'm having nothing to do with it.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're winding down now inside the last 5. So as always, we're going to give Dave the floor here. Let him get up on his soapbox and let him talk about what he wants to.
Well, I thought about your your tragedy with your pipes breaking and loss of income, and just people that run restaurants really work their butts off. I mean, it's thankless. I mean, you're not getting rich on that. You're staying alive. You're keeping your head above water, paying your bills, making some money, but you're doing it because you love doing it. And I look around and I see people driving DoorDash, for example, in the freezing cold. They're getting out of their car, they're spending money on their own gas. They don't make a lot of money on each delivery. They depend on guys like us who are too lazy to go out and get the food ourselves or cook ourselves. And a lot of people don't even tip these guys. And I think that's shameful. I mean, you go to a high-end bar and you order a drink and you tip the bartender, $1, $2 just for turning around, taking a bottle cap off the bottle. And yet we expect these guys that come through rain, sleet, and snow with expenses to deliver our food and not tip them. Come on. I mean, we got to be better than that. These are the people that keep our economy running, and throw them a few dollars. That's my soapbox.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. We appreciate that, Dave. And yeah, I'm on Grubhub myself, and I appreciate all those drivers. Actually, one of my first orders on Grubhub, the driver's name is Tony. He came in and he knew right where to go. He had never been there before, though. He's like, oh, I have to come back and try it. He came back and tried it the next day, got a cheesesteak from me himself, messaged me. He was like, hey, man, that was so great. And then the following week brought his son in. So he was in there 3 times in like 10 days, 2 times to buy food from me. So they're great people. They support the industry. So that's a great one, man. I'm going to stay on brand with that. And I'm just going to shout out all the restaurant owners and workers, especially the ones here in Lincoln, who probably had a really terrible start to the year. We got hit with 2 snowstorms. It was like back-to-back blizzards in the same week. Then sub-zero freezing temperatures. Like the high was like -6 and the low was like -25 for almost a week. That a lot of us, wasn't just me, a lot of people had some pipes breaking. A lot of people had to throw out some food because it just was gone bad. Like it was a rough time in Lincoln and Omaha too. I'm sure everybody got hit for the food and beverage industry for the first half of this month. So glad we got past that. Just shout out all the hardworking guys there. So that'll do it for another episode of Behind the Stripes. Again, you can find us on the High and Wide Network at FlyersHW on Twitter and the YouTube channel. Also, find us on 102.9 The Game digital radio. We'll air there once a day. Thank you so much. Everybody have a good one. Be safe.